The largest part of my first part of my career, I have actually spent in the industry about 20 plus years. And I would say God was kind and I was fortunate to land up some of these opportunities to man the C-suite. So business leadership is what I had primarily acquired in the first phase of my life. Over the last about 6 odd years, I have now been dabbling into academia, where I have had association with some of the world's leading most institutions, some of the world's topmost B schools, as also technology schools. And it is these engagements, the outings where I come and meet young global leaders like you that I enjoy the most, because this provides me an opportunity to both compare notes, both as an industry practitioner and as also as an academic or a research-based, evidence-based situation, to be able to share with you my own little piece of journey and learnings with this most exciting subject of AI. So yes, very excited to be here, very eagerly looking forward to what we have. 60 minutes. Typically, this is divided into 4 quadrants of 15 minutes each. The last 15 minutes is what is classically reserved for purposes of any questions, comments, observations, feedback, any discussions, any reflections to share. This is not to mean that you are not in a position to raise your hand and ask a question or just speak about it if during the course of it you so wish. We will quickly try and go through some of the things that you're seeing on the screen, the concepts, the frameworks, the hype, the reality, some of the other things that have really taken the world by storm over the last 6 months, and how all of this adds up to be able to guide us into what we are attempting to do in our own respective careers. All right. So on that note, very, very happy to begin the session. Yes, this is not only AI, this is generative AI. So my question number one of all of you is, what are the main drivers of AI? What is it that is really driving AI? What is generative AI? Does anyone have any clue on any of these broad range answers? You don't have to give a very defined and very intelligent answer. All that I'm looking for is some keywords. Anyone? We will not be using the chat because that will then disturb me. So if you have the answer, please share the answer by speaking up. Yes, automation and speed, machine learning. Yeah, we will speak. I think it'll keep us happy and engaged in a better way. Yes, Hema, you're right. And so are you when you say automation. So is there a difference between automation and artificial intelligence? No, or Dana? Dana, yeah. Is there a difference between automation and artificial intelligence? Anyone?
I think in order to do automation, you have to have some form of artificial intelligence, something that's going to artificially mimic something that humans would normally do.
Dana, as it turns out, industrial revolution led to a situation of us moving from using cultivation and extraction as a primary mode of, or as a primary economic driver, to a situation of industry and automation really becoming, and production and automation really becoming the order of the day as far as the 20th century is concerned. You and I both, all of us know that as far as the 20th century is concerned, there has not really been any AI, except that AI did start out way back in 1940s and 50s. But in real terms, in terms of applications out there, we had nothing really on the horizon, but automation existed. So just to put things in perspective, automation is typically for repetitive tasks, while artificial intelligence is something which can very well be and is generally for non-repetitive tasks, which means wherever there is human angle or a human intelligence to be mimicked is where artificial intelligence comes in. So 3 key drivers of AI that I would want all of us guys to take away are, first and foremost, there is humongous amount of data. So as much data as has been produced over the last 200,000 years of recorded human history is what is equal to the data that has been produced over the last 2 years. So there is this huge volume of data, velocity of data, and data availability everywhere. And this is when IoT has not really yet taken off. So imagine as IoT really takes off in the coming years, how much more data we're going to be inundated with. So data is at the heart of AI. So one, we have lots and lots of data. Two, we also have tremendous computing power available to us in a mobile first and a cloud first world. So our ability to process this data, to make sense of this data is hugely enabled today as compared to, let's say, a couple of years ago, a couple of decades ago. And at a third level, we have these sophisticated algos, sophisticated algorithms, code, software. With these three at our disposal, the AI revolution is what is really driving the world. And while this is AI, what is generative AI? So the broader spectrum of AI consists of this large universe called artificial intelligence, one subset of which is something called machine learning. So Hema, when you say machine learning, yes, partially you are right. And a further subset of machine learning is something called deep learning, right? And within deep learning, one type of neural networks are something called generative adversarial network. And that is where generative AI comes from. So with that very macro level technical background, I will leave it at that. And we will begin with what we've set out to do. I am presuming, Janet, that I am visible, audible, and that my screen is shared. So what you are seeing is something that has been generated out of a text to image instruction. So while all of us have heard of and are perhaps aware of something called Chatgpt, which is a text to text chatbot system, this is a text to image. So this image has been generated with an equivalent of Chatgpt called Midjourney, which is a text to image conversion system. So this is how big. So already Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, various other tech moguls have given various kinds of statements that it is the biggest, it is a revolution as big as electricity, as fire, in terms of the impact and in terms of the transformational value that it may have. But this is a poll that was carried out by CB Insight. So we know that till about 40 years ago, computers had not really made it to the workstations, right? And all of a sudden, computers started becoming central to what would be sitting on the workstation, on the work table, right? And this is akin to how telephones at a point in time were occupying the prime place on a work table, right? And from computers, it went then to a situation of internet taking over our lives, and then came mobile, and along with it, around the same time, we had the cloud revolution. So generative AI is seen to be a technological advance that would be as big as either the iPhone or the internet. That is what 75% of the voters really polled. And that is what reality is also showing. So yes, the market is on fire. There is all kind of venture activity. We know that in 6 days flat, they reached 1 million numbers of consumers. In 2 months time, they reached 100 million numbers of consumers. This compares with some 2.5 and 3.5 years respectively that, let's say, an Instagram and a Snapchat would have taken to reach those numbers. So yes, miraculous numbers, miraculous progress. Here you see it. To reach 100 million numbers of consumers, how much some of the other brands took, while ChatGPT did it in less than 2 months flat. So yes, all over, whether it is the VC market, whether it is the consumer market, whether it is the technology, big tech companies, everyone cannot stop swearing by what we are seeing. So I'm taking you guys back to the October 2022. And all of these technologies are stacked up. So there are these 20 technologies knocking on our doors. There is blockchain, there is Internet of Things, there is cloud computing, there is cybersecurity, there is something called AI. Right? And all of a sudden, AI seems to have bolted from the blue, and AI has all of a sudden become the flavor of the moment come November 2022. And in 6 to 8 months flat, it has clearly pole vaulted itself to a situation of hitting the pole position the fastest and of being the number one, not only talked about, but the number one technology every which way that you look at it. So yes, bursting into prominence, whether it is the earnings call, and this compares so dramatically and so ironically with metaverse, which was the flavor of the season as far as 2022 was concerned, but obviously metaverse has lost some sheen. And this is some 250 odd, the biggest ones of them, the top investors in generative AI. So this is a quick one on what this hype is all about.
Generative AI will be a revolution. Today's everyone and the headlines are focusing on its technical limitations and on productivity gains, but tomorrow it will be a product and business model innovation. And this is why CEOs need to do four things. The first one is to generate responsible AI guidelines dedicated to generative AI. Second, it's to identify the use cases that with generative AI will become a source of competitive advantage. Third, they need to experiment and fully understand the depths of generative AI and how it will impact jobs. Based on that, they will have to redefine their operating model and their organizational blueprint. Fourth, they need to implement a new change management model that takes care of the professional identity of the employees.
All right. So yes, Chatgpt, when it was asked what it would do if it could fly, you could read the answer. So what is important for us to understand is that Chatgpt has actually touched that part which we always believed was exclusively reserved for us humans. We could have never imagined that it would go the creative way and it could do so much of it. Right. So we're going to be seeing, this is Sam Altman, the man of the moment, being interviewed here by ABC News.
On the other hand, there's a huge number of unknowns that could turn out very badly for society. What do you think about that?
We've got to be cautious here. And also, I think it doesn't work to do all this in a lab. You've got to get these products out into the world and make contact with reality, make our mistakes while the stakes are low. But all of that said, I think people should be happy that we're a little bit scared of this. I think people should be
You're
happy.
A little bit scared.
A little bit, yeah.
You personally.
I think if I said I were not, you should either not trust me or be very unhappy I'm in this job.
So what is the worst possible outcome?
There's like a set of very bad outcomes. One thing I'm particularly worried about is that these models could be used for large-scale disinformation. I am worried that these systems, now that they're getting better at writing computer code, could be used for offensive cyber attacks. And we're trying to talk about this. I think society needs time to adapt.
And how confident are you that what you've built won't lead to those outcomes?
Well, we'll adapt it. And also, I think
you'll adapt it as negative things occur?
For sure, for sure. And so putting these systems out now, while the stakes are fairly low, learning as much as we can and feeding that into the future systems we create, that tight feedback loop that we run.
So that word of caution from Sam Altman, this is what generative AI is able to do, these large language models. You feed in some text and it returns to you its own creation or rendering of the same. What you see at the left bottom, collage and DALL-E and a Bruegel. So you could actually alter the styles and it would return on the same prompt that you have given in the style of the particular artist that we're talking about. Now, this is an image to text, which means economist covers are provided to this system, and it provides the text description for what it believes it is referring to. Another example. And yet another example. And this is famous novels, how Chatgpt would convert it. So this is deep learning coming to Hollywood. This is Glenn Marshall, who actually used, and this is a movie, an AI movie, which has gone on to win some award. And this is where in a post-apocalyptic situation, through the feeding of this basic text, they have been able to convert it into a situation of a movie. Glenn Marshall is the artist. Post-apocalyptic barrenness. For your information, Hema, thank you for your comment. Text to video, the first product that is out is from Meta, from Facebook, which is called Make a Video, Make-a-video, which you could use. So this is another example, Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, how a GPT-3 model will finish off from where it is left. And this is Glenn Marshall again for another, when he had earlier made a splash with DAL-E. This is when the iconic duo had announced their split. So he had used some text prompts like headgear. And one final one, William Gibson. All right, this is once again AI art. Naturally, these pictures are not for real, but this is what AI is able to do. And this is as far as some of the very top of the line examinations for us humans is concerned, and how Chatgpt kind of outscores all of us and how smart it is, whether it is GRE, GMAT, SAT, or various other scholastic tests. Satya Nadella for you for a moment.
In any language in any Indian language. So a demo I saw was a rural Indian farmer trying to access some government program, right? So he just expressed a complex thought in speech in one of the local languages that got translated and interpreted by a bot, and a response came back saying, go to a portal and here is how you'll access the program. He said, look, I'm not going to go to the portal. I want you to do this for me. And it completed it. And the reason why it was able to complete it was because a developer building it had taken GPT and trained it over all of the Government of India documents, and then scaffolded it with the speech recognition software. So think about what that meant, right? That basically meant that a large model, a foundational model that was developed in the West Coast of the United States a few months before, had made its way to a developer in India who then sort of added value to it to make a difference in a remote villager's life. And I've never seen that type of diffusion. To your point about the Industrial Revolution, Klaus, I would say, we're still waiting for the Industrial Revolution to reach some large parts of the world 250 years after. The internet maybe took 30 years. Maybe the cloud and mobile took 15 years. And now I think we're talking months, which to me, I think is perhaps the benefit. Doesn't mean to your core question.
So the S-curve, the diffusion of innovation that he talks about, and how it is really revolutionizing the world, and how, like we said earlier, on fire, how this market has really been garnering not only attention, but also the monies. And this is a little bit of history of how these large language models have come about. So as I said earlier, deep learning is a subset of machine learning, which in turn is a subset of artificial intelligence. And the timing is just right. The timing is just right because you've got all of these enablers in place, whether it is big data, whether it is the computing power required to address that big data, or whether it is software, which is a sophisticated software to be able to make sense of it. Incidentally, what you're seeing in the form of OpenAI is actually to the credit of these 6 engineers at Google who had earlier started working on large language models. It is another story that the people at OpenAI were actually able to surpass Google far more and develop a more better version of it, as also launch it in the marketplace. So this is a quick timeline of how things have developed over the course of last few weeks and how Chatgpt has really pole vaulted itself into a position of super eminence. So when you look at applications in HEMA, you will not only see the kind that which is only text to video, you will see several kinds that generative AI really enables us to do. So you start at the bottom of this, there is the model, it could generate text, it could generate code, it could generate image, it could generate speech, and much more, as we will see. And that is how you add the application layer.
I gave it a prompt asking what should Harvard's strategy in online education be in a way that preserves the magic of the campus experience. And, it typed out a fine essay, but it was pretty generic. I then cut and paste the essay and gave it back to ChatGPT. And I said, if this was the answer to an essay prompt like this, how would you grade it? And it said, I would give it a grade of C+ because it's not Harvard specific enough, which was absolutely fascinating because I was like, actually, this is not just for giving answers, it's for grading answers. And there's a certain degree of self-awareness, or dare I say humility here.
Yeah. So image generation is, of course, par for the course as far as generative AI is concerned. This is image to image translation from one format to another, transferring of style to a Van Gogh painting. From sketches to realistic looking images, all of these people are not real, what you see at the bottom. From text to image. So the text that was fed in is what you see on the left in bold, and it turned out the image on the right. From text to speech, it can do audio generation. You've seen an example of text to video already.
Welcome everybody to GAN. This is still quite a bit more pixelated. So where the GAN handled one of those areas that we are kind of weak at.
Right. You can even have resolution enhancement. So old dated stuff can really be made absolutely cutting edge modern. Now, synthetic data generation basically refers to data which is synthetically, artificially, which means it does not exist but is generated for purposes of training the model. So this is NVIDIA's interactive AI rendered virtual.
That you see is not rendered by a graphics engine. It's actually rendered by the AI technology that we built.
This is the first time we combine machine learning and computer graphics to do image generation using deep networks.
For training data, we're given some driving sequences of different cities, and then we use another segmentation network to extract the high-level semantics from these sequences. We have the UE4 engine to generate these colorized high-level layouts. Different objects will be given different colors.
The network converts this representation to images.
I made my co-author to dance Gangnam Style, which I don't think he would do by himself.
We find some good dancing videos from another person and then use my model to synthesize the dance move. That was created by machines, it's not me.
All right, so synthetic data is about to transform. Why? Because this is how training of data can happen on hundreds of millions of new images, new videos, new text, because you're no longer limited by what is real data. And this is where a breakthrough moment could possibly occur. So this is how it actually turns out, the use cases and applications, if you're looking at visual content, the ones at the top, and so on and so forth. So yes, very, very important. What is Chatgpt? Anyone? So Chatgpt is this chatbot which has been launched by this company called OpenAI in November 2022. It is based on a large language model, which means it has been trained on heaps and heaps of tremendous data, all data garnered from the internet up till September 2021. And that all data and the initial responses have also been validated by human intervention. So there is a human in the loop, and they had hired a Kenyan firm where people were paid some $3.74 for purposes of cleaning it from the perspectives of pornography, jihad, any of those, suspect harmful things that it needed to be cleared off. And finally, it is able to engage with us humans in a manner in which it is very, very human, not human-like, it is human, which means it is a conversational AI platform. You can ask it anything and it will give you an answer mostly, except for some topics which are supposed to be off limits, which I will explain in a while. So this quick video explains it all, how the whole system works.
Meet John, a talented programmer who is looking to start a company that used his personally developed mobile application to connect restaurants and customers for booking and reservations. Even though the app was ready, John had difficulty getting together a team for his startup, needing separate people for sales, marketing, programming, content creation, and customer support. Hiring reliable manpower while being strict with his budget was getting difficult. He reached out to his friend Ryan, who said John could start his company without hiring any new people, thanks to just a single AI-based tool. John couldn't believe it, which led Ryan to introduce Chatgpt, the revolutionary AI chatbot being developed by OpenAI. It is a state-of-the-art natural language processing, or NLP model, that uses a neural network architecture to provide responses. This means that the Chatgpt bot can answer questions without being explicitly told what the answer is using its own intellect, unlike previous AI chatbots. So, how does Chatgpt help John in filling out his team? Regarding sales, Chatgpt can provide full-fledged sales pitches based on the correct prompts. It can provide tips on how to pitch your product to businesses, removing the need for sales training, completely customized to your requirements and your prompts. If you don't like some things about the response, you can ask for certain changes, and the chatbot will make sure they are done. When it comes to marketing, Chatgpt can provide efficient marketing strategies, which can help new entrepreneurs learn how to market their products to prospective clients. It can provide trending keywords that marketers can use for SEO purposes, while providing ad copies for your website and blog. Speaking of websites, since John can do a lot of the heavy lifting in programming, Chatgpt can help proofread the code and help out when looking for bugs to fix. Apart from basic bug fixing, it can also provide sample code structures for different programming languages, allowing John to focus more on improving core functionality and workflow rather than fixing basic code errors. Websites and blogs content is very helpful in gathering potential customer leads. The revolutionary bot can provide full-length blog posts with near perfect fast accuracy in seconds, allowing further customization, like choosing the length of the subject matter to the complexity of language. For John's customer support, the bot can draft complete customer service emails based on the situation, saving time and resources. The tone of the message can be changed to reflect the nature of the message, creating an efficient alternative for call center professionals. John was left speechless seeing this level of versatility from Chatgpt and wanted to implement it right away. However, Ryan made sure John knew about some drawbacks of the chatbot before getting started. Since the bot is trained mostly on data up to 2021, many of the newer events may still need to be discovered by Chatgpt. Even basic stuff like asking about the current date and time is beyond its scope, much like the limited understanding of context despite providing near lifelike solutions to certain problems. Even the accuracy of many responses can be questioned since the AI model is still learning and being developed. There is a section of the public that believes the revolutionary tool can one day replace Google search. But that day seems far-fetched so far because of the variety of issues people keep running into when using ChatGPT. So here's a question for you. Which of the following tasks cannot be carried out by ChatGPT? Voucher. However, ChatGPT poses a lot of promise for the future of AI. From full-scaled automated divisions and organizations to serving as the perfect digital assistant, OpenAI is creating a bot for the future aimed at solving the problems of today with the tools of tomorrow. The ability to carry out a myriad of tasks with minimum manpower will boost productivity at organizations in every sector, thanks to the revolutionary ChatGPT.
So very, very smart input / question / comment there by Hema. Yes, Hema, you are right. And the jury is still out as to whether AI, generative AI, will lead to job losses, will lead to job redefinitions, reinventions, whether upskilling, reskilling, learning, unlearning. This is what the modern age is actually going to be defined by. So yes, as far as the specific function of contact, call centers and let's say, agent splits are concerned, almost 95% of it will actually become fully automated, and only for very rare. Already we are seeing that. I mean, for 99% of our queries on apps, they would, the chatbot itself would be able to handle it for us. You can do conversation with it of all kinds, and very rarely, if ever, would there be a need for a human intervention. So yes, on that part, I think there will be very limited role that humans will play in those call centers anymore. It's a job which is seen to be going out in no more than 12 months with almost 100% certainty of everything being eliminated. I will just quickly check. Yes, OpenAI and generative AI, sure thing. So very good question again. So generative AI is the category. So let me explain very quickly. What is AI? AI is artificial intelligence. It really is not intelligence. It is just trying to mimic human intelligence. What do humans do? Humans can see, humans can hear, humans can touch, humans can feel, humans can smell. When a machine is able to do all of this, it is called artificial intelligence. So how do they see? Through cameras in their eyes. So Hanson Robotics, there is Sophia. Sophia is able to move its gaze because it's got cameras inside, right? How do they move like humans move? Because robots have been built to move and do these huge tasks, whether they are in warehouses or difficult places to reach or somehow dangerous, perilous situations where humans would not want to be in. So something called computer vision has been developed, which allows them to see, CV. Now, earlier on, what we used to do was that you needed to know the language, the syntax, and be able to write a code in a programming language with some parentheses and with some syntax. And then came an age when you were able to do it in a slightly better manner, in a machine learning manner, machine readable manner. And today is a situation where something called natural language processing has happened. This is how you interact with Alexa. This is how you interact with Google Assistant. This is how you do your search today, because it has been trained on versions and versions of accents of even an individual's different time accents, that it is able to quickly get to what you are saying and engage with you in a conversation. So Alexa, please tell me what is the temperature right now. It is able to tell me. Do you think it is going to rain today? I was looking at this restaurant, what can I do? And it engages in a conversation, right? So this ability of a machine to mimic human intelligence is what the business of artificial intelligence is. How does it happen? So machine learning is one of the ways through which this intelligence is realized. So how do we become intelligent? Look at a little baby, a 4-year-old baby. We teach this baby today on Monday, baby, this is a cat and this is a dog. We show 2 pictures and we're able to explain this is a dog and this is a cat. Now, most likely, if this baby is tomorrow shown a picture of a hyena and a tiger, it will identify the tiger as a cat and the hyena as a dog. Till we educate it by telling the baby that, okay, this is not a dog and a cat, this is a hyena because of this reason, and this is a big cat, which is called a tiger because of bigness reason and various other reasons. So basically how a baby learns is when you provide it more information, it learns. And there comes a stage when it starts learning by itself. Now you could show a baby hundreds of different types of cats and it will be able to identify all of them as cats only and not dogs. Once again, 17 breeds of dogs you could show it and it would always identify them as dogs and not ever as cats, right? This is known as pattern recognition. When machines do that through the data that they are trained on, through the data that they are provided, it is called machine learning. However, who is providing the data? Who is managing the whole operation? The humans. If you take the humans out of the loop, and if you allow the machine to itself do its own work through something known as neural networks, which means unstructured data is presented to the machine and it figures out the answer on its own. The machine is given a glass of beer and a glass of wine, and it has to differentiate between the two. When it is able to do that without any human intervention is when it becomes deep learning. So deep learning is one of the ways in which machine learning works. Within deep learning, because deep learning is a business of neural networks, which is beyond the scope of the 60 minutes that we are able to do. Within deep learning, there is something known as convolutional neural networks, recurrent neural networks, deep belief neural network, and finally, generative adversarial network. So when you use in deep learning generative networks, it is called generative AI. What does generative AI mean? So it's a category where earlier on what they were doing was they were finding results for us which were existing. In this case, they are generating results for us. So I ask it, please write an essay for me on Newton's laws of motion vis-a-vis the philosophy of the modern world. It generates an essay in a blink. This is the power of AI to generate content, images, video, and what have you, right? So that is generative AI as a category. OpenAI is the company which is now owned by Microsoft, which originally was an independent company. It was acquired by Microsoft some 3-4 years back for a multi-billion-dollar deal. OpenAI is the company which owns the brand called Chatgpt. They are the ones who are the first in the market to launch a product, a consumer product in the market at a very large scale, where the model has been trained on humongous scale, and it is able to engage with us in a conversational manner where it is as good as real. It is far more perhaps powerful than, all right, you got it. Perfect. So we move forward. Thank you. I saw the chat message. So quickly, what it is, it's a text-to-text conversational platform. Any questions, theoretically speaking, you can ask, but will you always get an answer? No. For example, if you ask how to hotwire a car, it will return a result saying that, it cannot give that. But when you qualify it by saying this is to save a baby, it will perhaps gladly oblige. So it's OpenAI who built ChatGPT. How does it work? I explained it earlier. Yes, for now it is free, but they now have a premium version also where you can pay more and access the latest one, which is GPT-4 on a subscription basis. Limits, as I said, some of these harmful things and pornography and tens of these bias-driven things, privacy-driven issues are off limits. So yes, there happened something called encyclopedia, there happened something called calculators, there happened something called Google search. So all of and Wikipedia, and did they enable the students to cheat, or the students could use them as a tool? So as far as I'm concerned, yes, they are theoretically speaking in a position to cheat. However, I look at it as a tool rather than a hindrance. Yes and no. Can teachers spot it? So there are softwares, there are plagiarism tools that are available in the market, but they never can tell with a complete 100% surety. But they are able to say that, okay, more than 70% chances exist that this was authored by a AI-based system. Yes, it can write software. Not only can it do so, a work that a normal human programmer would perhaps do in 60 minutes, it could do in a few minutes and you're done. Off limits, as I earlier on explained. For now, yes, there are things on which it definitely is better than Google search. However, the authenticity of Google, which means Google actually returns to you results where the original website you can refer to and make up your own mind, is not still existing. So yes, there is a way to go and a long way to go. But Microsoft in its search engine called Bing has already incorporated the features. Samsung is also talking about it. Baidu in China is talking about it. So yes, all of these big ticket, there is this big ticket race that is on right now, and they are all rushing to make the most of it. All right. So this brings us almost to those 45 minutes that I talked about. I have some other stuff which we need not get into. I think it's a good idea for me to stop sharing the screen and quickly ask you guys if there are any comments, questions, observations, anything, anyone. Last 15 minutes, always reserved for this, enables us to engage better and benefit from each other's wisdom. Any comments, any questions, any feedback? All right, I have a question. How many of you guys have used ChatGPT? So you can either raise your hands or type yes in chat or something, and the team will just quickly do this is a quick poll. So Laura has, very well.
I have. Dana has.
Dana has, 2 of them. Very good. So in a team of about 18, 17 of us, there are only 2 of us who have done it. Hema also has kind of tested it. So 3 or 4 of us. So almost about 5 of us. So almost about 25% of us have done it. Now, let me thereby just give you guys a quick demo if there are no questions, so that we're able to still make the most of what we have. Are you guys okay if I quickly give a demo of what this can do?
Yeah, I do. As you load the demo, I think a lot of what's around this is around intellectual property, right? So this ability to generate obviously lands into who owns. So can you speak to that just a little bit as you load your demo?
Who owns what?
The outputs of generative models.
Yeah. So it very clearly is owned by, very good question, Laura. It is. So when I do a Google search, who owns the results? So Google search defines itself as being in the business of organizing the world's information. So Piyush Sharma today wishes to wisdomize himself on something called Newton's laws of motion. And Google search returns some 1 million numbers of sites, the top 10 of which refer from Newton's original work to a rudimentary grade 6, textbook on Newton's laws, to a heavy duty Stanford science school stuff on Newton's laws and their relevance in a quantum world, right? Now, it is a simple organizing of the world's information. On the basis of all that internet-driven information, generative AI has finally just been able to convert it into a situation where it can very quickly process all of this data and give me mostly very intelligent results. So I don't have to unnecessarily behave like a Johnny when such a powerful tool is available to me. What would have earlier required me to employ a team of 20 assistants, to work on the kind of works that I needed to do, I am now able to do that in 1/20th of the time with just one machinery prompt. If only I am smart enough to give a very intelligent prompt. So just as Google search returns to you results which are a function of the kind of great input that you have given, how you're searching, which all of us in our own right have today kind of learned how to make the most of a Google search. This is totally dependent upon how beautiful this thing you can do, prompting you can do. So I will now show you something. Let me see if I have Chatgpt class. Okay, so this is something that I did earlier on. Okay, so let us say we say, hi, I am doing a demonstration class on Chatgpt. See now? All right, in 50 words flat, right? Make it more sexy. All right. Now it doesn't blink an eye. This is conversation like I would do with a human. I did not write it perfectly. How about making it funny? Why don't you make it funny? See, this is the power. The range is very big. The breadth is, the whole thing is very big. Right? So that is the kind of stuff that you can do, tens of hundreds of things that you can do. All right. Coming back, are there any questions, comments, observations? This was a very quick demo. I hope it made sense.
What do you think is, this is Dana, what do you think is beyond generative AI today that we will see in 4 years from now in the context of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, very good question. And yes, I will try and hazard a guess there, but as I said, crystal ball gazing is left to anyone and everyone is just kind of sitting in a situation of trying to size it all up and trying to kind of have their own vision on where it could go. I do believe that the coming times is going to see a plethora of other technologies which have already been knocking on our doors. I think combined with Internet of Things and blockchain and AI, the divergence of these is what is going to be driving the world. So I look at it as a situation of the body and the mind. So how do we humans work? I have 5 senses. These 5 senses are in the business of gathering data. I see, I read, I see, I hear, I smell, etc. These are my data points. So right now in this screen, I'm able to see 15 people here, right? And then I'm able to make sense of the world because of some data that I'm further getting because of chats that you're doing, questioning that you're doing, or some other background that has already been shared with me. Now, with Internet of Things, this data, as I said earlier, is going to become perhaps 100 times more. With the production of synthetic data, the dearth of data is no longer going to be a handicap for me. So that means data, I will have a plenty. What I would need to be able to do is to be able to have that as a validated data. For example, there is something known as hallucination. I do not know if any of you guys have heard of something called hallucination. So ChatGPT can give me answers with such authority and in such a confident manner that it is very difficult for me to think that it is not the correct answer, especially as for 20 years we've been used to the idea of having Google by our side and thereby knowing that mostly what it returns is genuine, cool, right information. So in this case, it becomes a very difficult situation to know that it is hallucinating and it may be totally off what the reality is, right? And to that extent, there are still improvements which will come in. But generative AI has already proved itself to be of much use. AI in general is proving itself to be of much use. The ability of them to have a look at eye retinas and predict the ages of people to the accuracy of a plus minus 6 months. The ability of them to have a look at eye retinas and predict diabetic retinopathy for them, right? The ability for them to, predict a cancer tomorrow, the ability for them to predict a pandemic and to be able to shut down the pandemic are all possibilities which are now becoming in the realm of what would be possible by processing of this data and enabling the decision making. So the future is looking very, very bright on this side, but there is the other side, which the Elon Musk of the world keep warning us, that if left untamed, this can actually become worse than even the weapons of mass destruction. So the future is kind of, the world is kind of, the jury is kind of divided on what that future will be. How relevant is prompt engineering? Very relevant. Yes, it is. No, it definitely is very, very relevant. If you are the techie person, then also it is relevant. Even if you are not a techie person, all of us as B2C consumers of a Google, all of us are limited by our ability to search Google for what we are looking for. Not all of us are almost always able to get the best places to educate us or to share with us on a niche or an important area that we are trying to understand about, right? Similarly, it is for prompts. So my ability to, I was right now just doing a very quick demo. So I was just typing anything that was coming into my mind. But when I'm really doing some serious stuff, I write my prompts with much deliberation. I will take at least 8 to 10 minutes to write a prompt, and then I will start engaging with it in a conversation and try and make the most of. So human plus AI is far greater than AI, which in its own right is lesser than humans. So the stacking for me, the value chain for me is humans plus AI set right on top. Can we do that right is where it becomes a super intelligence situation. Good. Any other questions, comments, observations, any feedback, anything for us to exchange? How will AI help filter misinformation in the near future? Very, very important question, Alex, that you asked. We do not know. Is it its job to filter that information? Will they develop it in that direction? Will it add to that? We are still realizing that between technology and regulation, and there is this whole field which I have not even touched upon in today's session, which my colleague Janet in the beginning mentioned, something called responsible AI or ethical AI, and the ability for AI. See, AI is finally being built by the data that exists in an unequal, in a biased, in a stereotyped, in a world which is not a perfect world, in an imperfect world. The people who are creating AI are people who are not representative of all the people for whom this is being created. So all of them, most of them, are white males who are currently creating it, right? So there is a large portion of the world which is left untouched. So those biases are either existing in the data that is already there, or those biases are existing in the people who unknowingly may be, biased or stereotyped or may not know everything about the, all aspects of an issue. So to that extent, AI is manipulable. To that extent, AI can lead to also a worsening of situation, and that is where I made that dramatic statement earlier on that it is worse, it could be worse than the arms race. So filtering of information, perhaps it will finally arrive at a situation with enough regulation in place, but till that time, we have to keep our fingers crossed. Good question, Alex. Thank you, because you allowed me to go into a domain which I should have touched. Does not have the data cut off and disadvantage. You mean the date cut off, right? No, I do not know right now. I have myself not tested them, but I would imagine that they will finally turn out to be better than Chatgpt. But there is a difference. Those, it will play out. It is early days yet for anyone to take a stand and say. So today, Chatgpt remains the gold standard in it. Damien, this was an answer to what you had asked. Yeah. So today, I think Chatgpt is clearly the star. It is the North Star in the whole thing. But over a period of time where it all settles down in this war, we will know. Yep. All right. So on that note, if there are no more questions, may I request if all of us would turn on our videos and my team would take a quick photograph that would enable them to process some other formalities that they need to in terms of certification, etc. Happy to do that. Very quickly, if all of you guys could turn on your cameras and we take a quick photograph. You don't have to be perfect, super camera ready for this. Good. Quickly, yes. Balaji, good to see you. Dana, good to see you, except that it's your fan that we are seeing. Anyone else? Laura, thank you. So quickly, whosoever has turned it on, we will just do it. Janet, let us know once you're done.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. And I hope it made sense, and I hope it leads you guys onto some new transformational journey that you may wish to look at. All right. On that note, thank you very much. You guys have a good rest of the evening and rest of the night ahead. Good night. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Anne. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
I think someone asked at the top of the call whether slides going to be available later.
Regarding the materials, ma'am, we do not really provide slides or slides and also the recording, but rest assured we can also attach the live link, the link in live, so that you can rewatch it.